Welcome to Yaarah's Yard podcast by me, Emily Cindy Wood. Topics that I upload will include, but not be limited to, veterans, head injury, cancer, encephalitis, and Vermont. I'm also a survivor of stage 3 breast cancer, encephalitis, coma, and domestic violence. This is Cancer in the House, episode 2, and I am Emily Cynthia May Wood. Some people call me Emily, others call me Cindy or Cynthia, depending on where or when they know me from. And my Hebrew name is Yaarah, which means honeycomb. My story begins in October 2018. As a native Vermonter, born and raised in New England in the United States, I graduated high school, obtained an associate degree in liberal arts from the Community College of Vermont, and looked forward to completing the last class online for a Bachelor of Arts in Professional Studies. And this was through the Northern Vermont University, a self-designed degree. And it was also through the external degree program that they have. Due to cancer and my medical condition, I had to medically withdraw from this class. The disappointment was more that my condition forced me to medically withdraw from the one class I needed to graduate, than the fact that I had been diagnosed with cancer. Then that feeling morphed into frustration about how the expenses, changes to my schedule, and side effects that filtered into my life from cancer took over. It began with me needing to cut my hair that was almost down to my waist. And this devastated me because it was a sign of my Native American heritage. I'm of mixed ethnicity, and I was trying to keep long hair as a connection to my past and expression of myself, because I'm part Cherokee and part Algonquin, at least that's what I have been told. Second to go was the way I dress. I had to wear button-up the front clothing, which I didn't own. Donations from friends were helpful, and I had to buy other clothes as well. Then my body and energy level was limited. Sleeping longer, less range of motion in my left arm and shoulder, not being able to lift my arm off the pillow to get up to use the bathroom without excruciating pain. Gradually that improved, but my arm was still not back to the normal range of motion or strength on what I was told was a normal timeline. I was behind in my recovery. By August of 2019, it had improved a lot, but external and internal rotation hadn't improved enough. My children helped as much as they could, and my place of worship brought prepared meals for a couple of weeks after the mastectomy. The mastectomy was in October 2018. Visiting nurses began to come without my knowing ahead of time when they were coming often enough. So I had to force myself to stay awake in order to make sure to not miss them. So I was left exhausted, dragging myself through each day, fighting sleep, sitting up in a chair. It was a relief when the nursing department discharged me from visits to check the surgery site and vitals. Physical therapy was complicated. I requested a different therapist from the visiting nurse agency, but they said they couldn't give me a different one, even though initially, when I went through intake, I was told that I was going to be able to get a replacement if there was a personality clash or anything, but that didn't happen. So instead, I was changed from physical therapy to occupational therapy. And from there, I was transferred to outpatient physical therapy. Let's back up a bit, and I will describe better how it all began. Mid-September 2018, I noticed pain when I was leaning against my dining table. Then when I looked, there was dimpling of the skin on my left breast, like an orange skin. A 3D mammogram was done. 2 masses were detected. Soon after that, an ultrasound was done, and it verified that there were 2 masses, abnormal masses, in my left breast. A core biopsy was done the last week of September 2018. I was diagnosed with invasive breast cancer, and it was estrogen receptive. That means that it feeds all from estrogen. October 17th, 2018, I had a total left side mastectomy with sentinel, it's called a sentinel lymph node biopsy using blue dye. They inject the dye, and the shot kind of stings, like you're being stung by something. And so wherever the blue dye goes, that's where they look at the lymph nodes to see if they're cancerous. You can look on Google to find out what that is. But basically, the removed breast was cut into 8 parts. 7 of the 8 parts were full of cancer, and it was in my lymph nodes. My older son and his wife, they drove me to the surgery and waited until I was out of surgery to visit me. And then they drove me home and helped me through the next few days and kept coming to check on me. And then they returned with my younger daughter the next weekend to help. Periodically, one of them was coming to help me here and there for the next few weeks. They checked in on me, helped with laundry, brought out the trash, and some other things. So the following Friday, after my October 2018 mastectomy, a visiting nurse agency sent someone to come to my apartment to go through intake. And the following Monday or Sunday was when the first nurse came to check my vital signs in the surgery site. 6 days after surgery, the drains from the surgery fell from where they were taped on my body, and I wasn't able to move my arms with the limited range of motion I had in order to put them back where they were supposed to go. And I had to have a visiting nurse come, and I was hoping that they would put it back where it was, the way it was supposed to be, but they simply pinned it to my shirt, which made it kind of difficult because I already just said I was having a hard time with the range of motion with my arms. How am I supposed to unpin them from my shirt? So, anyways, the medical tape kept moving when I was trying to do it myself before the nurse came to help out. I was relieved when the surgeon removed the drains during the next follow-up appointment, but let me tell you how the drains fell out. Well, they didn't fall out. They fell from where they were taped, like I just was explaining. So basically, I couldn't get one single person to come and help me wash my hair. So I stubbornly tried washing my own hair in the kitchen sink. which in turn made the drains fall from where they were taped. I didn't realize until a while later that it was my fault, and that's what made it happen. But yeah, it was my fault, but it was everyone else's fault too, because no one would help me wash my hair. And so anyways, moving on, I was tested for a cancer gene, and there's something called BRCA2, the letters BRCA, and I guess it's referred to as BRCA2. Pretty much, I carry the cancer gene of BRCA2. This didn't surprise me because I have a cousin who tested positive for it. And cancer deaths and diagnosis permeate my family. Scans of chest, stomach, and pelvic regions, and an MRI of my brain, they showed no signs of cancer. They also did a scan of my heart as well. But that was really difficult because when they were doing that, I swear it was painful no matter how carefully the person was trying to use the device on me, because they had to do it on the site of the mastectomy. So my cancer was stage 3. It was confusing because I thought I was told it was stage 2, but then I was told it was stage 3. And because it was in my lymph nodes, I had to go through chemotherapy. Didn't have to. Let's just say I wasn't required to, but it was part of the treatment plan, and I could have said, no, I'm not going to do it, but I would have ended up with cancer spreading in my body because it was in my lymphatic system. So from December of 2018 until May of 2019, I went through chemotherapy. And after the chemotherapy ended, I went through about 5 weeks of radiation treatment. Then, after all this, there were potential removal of my right breast, uterus, ovaries, and cervix to possibly look forward to. The update right now is my ovaries and fallopian tubes were removed in November 2019 because that would reduce the estrogen in the body, and the type of cancer that I have is estrogen fed. I've also been taking something called tamoxifen. It's a medicine that blocks estrogen. So if I review that, October 17th of 2018 was the left side mastectomy, and I was diagnosed with invasive breast cancer, which feeds off from estrogen, and I am BRCA2 positive. It's a cancer gene. November 2018, an IUD was inserted to control something called adenomyosis. That had to happen because the adenomyosis symptoms would have wreaked havoc during chemotherapy. And I had to stop a hormone treatment that was controlling the symptoms of the adenomyosis before they put the IUD in. And this is the real kicker. The hormone that I was taking to control the adenomyosis was something that was also feeding the cancer. Of course, nobody knew that I had the cancer or the cancer gene, and looking back, it was unavoidable because I ended up with the adenomyosis. Anyways, what is adenomyosis? It's something where the tissue that is the type of tissue which grows on the lining of the uterus, the outer lining, this kind of tissue abnormally grows inside the uterus wall. And it causes a lot of terrible side effects. And that's something that you can Google if you want to know about it. It is spelled Adenomyosis. So, December 2018 to May 2019, chemotherapy. June, July 2019, radiation. November 2019, removal of ovaries and fallopian tubes. And the end of April 2020, which is coming up, I'm going to be having another surgery. This one is like the removal of the ovaries. This one is future cancer prevention. Cross our fingers. I am considered to be in remission from the cancer. And when I go in for this next surgery, my right side of the chest, the right breast, is going to be removed, and I will have bilateral chest reconstruction. This is something that's happening in a hospital that's further away from the local hospital, because the local hospital cannot do the reconstruction, but a hospital that's farther away can do it. And I figure, well, I might as well get them both done at the same time. And transportation and a few other things are being arranged. It's very complicated trying to work some of it out. But because of the issues that I had with the past visiting nurses agency, when I wanted to switch to a different physical therapist and some of the other issues that I had, I'm going to go with a different visiting nurse agency for visiting nurses to come in and check my vitals and the surgery site and that sort of thing after this next surgery. Some of the issues that I had with the previous visiting nurses agency is something where, like I already explained, having to fight sleep sitting up in a chair because I don't know when they're coming, and I have to wait for them to call me in the, after I wake up in the morning, not being able to sleep in or rest or take a nap or anything, because who knows when they're going to come by. And then there was the other issue of them not allowing me to switch from one physical therapist to another one. And I've got some issues with the housekeeping, but I won't go into that right now. Let's just say some of the people can clean very well when they come and clean. Others, they do a terrible job. Some do only part of what's on the list. Some just do a bad job, period. And what's been the most frustrating recently with the visiting nurse agency that's been doing housekeeping for me is they schedule one person for a certain time and a certain day. They send a different person, and that different person shows up early, like say at least an hour early sometimes. And it's like, what's going on? Just because I don't have a job and I'm disabled and have all these medical issues. It does not mean I don't have anything else going on in my life. So if they schedule a housekeeper to come at a certain time on a certain day and they tell me a certain name of who's coming, I expect that person to come and for them to show up at the time and day that was scheduled. But that's not being followed, and it's becoming frustrating for me. The other things I guess I would like to mention are, prior to the cancer diagnosis, I had many symptoms from pre-existing medical conditions. Medical issues, symptoms that have no relation to the cancer whatsoever. These issues include an inability to be out in the air for a long time. When I go outside, having to limit my time outside, especially if there's a lot of pollen, if there's a big breeze that day. My lungs are very sensitive. I've got arthritis in my hands, feet, spine, and hips. I've got symptoms from when I was 3 and I had encephalitis and was in a coma. I've got symptoms from multiple head injuries in the past, many dental issues, and I have many more after going through chemotherapy. That could take up quite a long time just discussing that, but the point that I'm trying to make by mentioning that is a person that is diagnosed with cancer doesn't just have the issues from the cancer, they have the issues that they had previously, aside from that, on top of whatever is going on with the cancer. Something I hope you'll cross your fingers about with me is that someone will be able to be found who can assemble a treadmill for me. I got a manual treadmill that I ordered for $107 on Amazon. And I'm finding a hard time getting someone to come and assemble it. There are a few factors involved in finding someone to assemble it. First of all, the person has to have the time and the ability to do it. Second of all, if they're not going to do it for free as a friend or a family member and that sort of thing, then I have to be able to pay them. Number 3, I've been turned down by a few places that are companies which assemble things here locally. The only person that I was able to find outside of this area is someone who is a 5-hour drive away, and they will have to charge me between $300 and $400 for it to be worth their time to come out here, and that will be difficult for me to swing with the fact that I'm going to also need to get another lymphedema sleeve for my arm from the first mastectomy, because I own one and I need a second one. I'm going to need more clothes to wear when I'm recovering after this upcoming surgery. I'm also going to have to pay out of pocket for the housekeeping. There are so many factors involved in being able to or not being able to pay very much for someone to assemble this treadmill. There's a very big reason that I need the treadmill to be working, as soon as possible, because I ended up very weakened with low stamina, lost a lot of the muscle tone throughout my body, just a lot of things that are still latent effects from going through cancer treatment and the various surgeries that I've gone through. Physically, I can't assemble it myself. I can't maneuver the parts. And I also injured my right shoulder in December when I was trying to hang some holiday decorations for a family event that I was going to have at my apartment. The place of worship that I'm involved with, they just put my need for the treadmill to be assembled for the second time in the announcements. So we'll see what happens with that. Each of my sons said that they would try to do it, but they live over an hour away. One lives 2 hours away. His wife committed suicide February 6th of 2020. He's just got a lot going on. And the other one, he lives over an hour away, and his girlfriend just had a baby, and he's in the Marine Reserves. No matter how much that they want to do it for me or have the positive intentions of doing it, they're not able to. They don't have the time. There's just so much going on with them. And I already added that I can't really afford to pay very much for someone to assemble it. It's been suggested that I post it on Craigslist. I'm not going to do that because I live alone, and my medical condition, along with the fact of living alone, I believe that leaves me compromised. Look on the news and you'll see all these stories about people being robbed, people being assaulted, and various other things because they are trying to sell something or buy something through Craigslist. So I prefer to go through more, let's just say positive, much more positive and trustworthy avenues, I guess. So I guess the summary right now is it is March 7th of 2020, and guess what? I'm alive. I'm in remission from stage 3 invasive breast cancer, which is estrogen receptive. I had not gone through menopause yet, so that's been a journey. I carry the BRCA2 cancer gene, which, coupled with how much cancer was found in the first mastectomy, puts me at a high risk of future cancer in the other side of my chest. It also puts me at risk for skin, pancreatic, and eye cancer. My ovaries and fallopian tubes were removed in November. This will reduce the estrogen in my body, and I take tamoxifen, which blocks the estrogen as well. There can still be estrogen in the body even after the ovaries are removed. So the tamoxifen will have to be continued, probably for the rest of my life. For a certain amount of time before the upcoming second mastectomy, I have to stop taking the tamoxifen because it will cause a higher risk of blood clots. So in order to have this surgery to help prevent future cancer, I have to stop taking the medicine that will help prevent future cancer because it will cause blood clots. It can't be started up again for a certain amount of time after the surgery for the same reason. If the cancer doesn't return, then I will be called a 5-year cancer survivor. They pretty much give you the tamoxifen or whatever treatment for a 5-year increment of time, and at the end of that time, then they say, yay, you're a survivor. I don't know what they do after 10 years. I don't know if they go 5, 10, 15. I'm a 5-year cancer survivor. Yay, I survived 10 years. Yay, I survived 15. But I know I'll have to be monitored and go through treatment for the entire rest of my life. I'm 52. And like I said, I will choose a different visiting nurse agency for checking the vitals and the surgery site. I just have to simply take one day at a time. Everybody does. My hair and body, general countenance, and more feel like they've permanently changed. And I don't know if I'll get myself back. It's like when I look in my mirror, I see my face, but it looks like a different person.
Thank you for joining in with Yaarah's Yard podcast today. May you be blessed and be safe.